gentlemen. I'm not gonna holler.
Saturn.
It's time to start the meeting.
Venus, it's all over.
So if you will call the roll.
Mr. Bazell? Here. Dr. Houghton?
Here,
Mr. Farley? Here. Mr. Ellis?
You anything, Carl?
Mr. Grooms?
Here.
Mr. Rich?
Here.
Mayor Goodwin?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, so the invocation tonight will be Councilmember Folly, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear God, we thank you for your faithfulness and love. We praise you for all the blessings you have given us, both large and small. We ask that you continue to watch over us and guide us through this coming year. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, in the mayor's comments tonight, first thing up is Mr. Ellis asked, and the city went to the State Ethics Commission to ask if he could continue to be a council member and a voting council member of council on all issues, including CAPS, ISTRs, OSTRs, STRAs, Bs, C, D, F, whatever. And the State Ethics Commission come back and said, absolutely he can. He's a full council member until the day he retires or resigns. And because of, it's because he is, like everybody, he is a part of the bigger group for the whole island. He is entitled to vote on any and all things that come up. So that answers the questions from the citizens who had questions and from Mr. Ellis. I don't get to do a whole lot of stuff up here that's really nice as the mayor's job. Usually it's not nice. But there is a couple of things that happens in my job that makes it really worthwhile showing up for. And this year, right this minute, I want to be able to announce the Employee of the Year for 2023. It's nice that the employees are here for, everybody shows up for city council meetings, that way I don't have to try to make up some lie to get them to come to the meeting to be there. But this employee this year, Anderson had several, 5 or 6 good recommendations. It was tough going through them. The employee that got it, he's gonna know who he is right now, because I'm gonna say, I kid him all the time and say, he's my responsible employee. So Wes, come on up. And you get a little something better that goes with that clock.
Thank you.
Thank you, congratulations
Yes.
again. And Wes is like the mayor's office, he's responsible for everything. So that's why I call him a responsible employee. If you don't know what it is, call Wes. He kind of took over Marlene's spot. Since Marlene went to part-time. Okay. Now we have the marathon of staff reports. But first, the report that we all wait for with bated breath, the audit report. So, we will get started. And it's gotta be good because he's grinning from ear to ear. He didn't get caught this time, that's what he's saying.
Well, good evening. I'm Emily Sobchak. I'm with Green Finney Folly, and I am the audit partner that oversaw the financial statement audit this year. We've had the pleasure of working with the city for a couple of years now, and so I'm presenting the results of the financial statement audit for the year ended June 30th, 2023. So when it comes to the audit report, all the information included in that report is the responsibility of the city. And so it's important that the city has good policies and procedures in place to mitigate the risk of misstatements in that financial information. And that's important not only at year end for audit purposes, but also throughout the year as you're making strategic decisions on behalf of the city based on the financial information that you're receiving monthly. To be able to rely on that information as complete, accurate, and reliable is of course very important. Our responsibility then, as your auditor, is to audit the financial information provided and issue an opinion based on our audit. We have issued an unmodified opinion again this year. That opinion provides reasonable assurance that the financial statements are materially correct. So it is important to keep in mind that a financial statement audit provides a high level of assurance, reasonable assurance, but it's not absolute assurance. We don't look at every single transaction that occurs during a year. So we'll start by looking at your general fund financial results. You had an increase in your total fund balance of $958,000, bringing total fund balance to $11.3 million as of year end. Included in that balance is restricted funds for victim services. Those are restricted by the state of $23,000. You also have committed funds of $1.6 million. Those are commitments made by council, and so they can also be removed by council. Those commitments relate to a variety of areas, including future capital outlay, claims and judgments, and contingencies. You also have assigned fund balance that represents the amount that was appropriated in the fiscal 24 budget of $197,000. And when we take out those designated amounts, we're left with your unassigned fund balance of $9.5 million. That is the amount that is available for future operations. We like to compare your unassigned fund balance to your operating expenditures to gauge how healthy that fund balance is. At June 30th, your unassigned fund balance represents 92% or nearly a full year of operating expenditures, or 78% of your fiscal 24 budgeted expenditures. We're provided with a recommendation from the Government Finance Officers Association. That's a national organization that provides a benchmark recommendation that you should not have less than 2 months of operating expenditures in your fund balance. However, there are a number of reasons why the city should maintain a higher unassigned fund balance than that 2 months. The city's policy is to maintain a minimum of 30% of the prior year's audited expenditures. So for fiscal 23, we're looking at audited 22 expenditures of right around $10 million. And so that minimum fund balance for fiscal 23 would have been $3 million. Of course, you are well above that minimum. As I mentioned, there are a number of reasons why you want to have higher than the 2 months and perhaps even higher than the 30% of operating expenditures in your fund balance. One of those reasons is for cash flow purposes. We are measuring fund balance as of June 30th, but your most significant revenue source, your property tax revenues, aren't coming in until about now. And so at June 30th, we've got 6 months of operating expenditures, operating cash flows to get through, and having a healthy fund balance allows you to do that without having to issue short-term debt to cover those cash flows. We also, of course, want to keep in mind that we're a coastal community, and so you're at a higher risk of natural disasters. And so having fund balance available allows you, should we have a hurricane come through, allows you to meet some of those initial cash flow needs as you wait for reimbursements and grant funding. And then one other one that I'll highlight is when it comes to interest rates, having a healthy fund balance allows you to achieve better interest rates when you issue debt. It also gives you the flexibility of choosing whether to finance capital projects with debt issuances or through your available cash funds. And so certainly in the current interest rate environment, when issuing debt is more expensive, having the ability to use cash on hand to fund some of those capital needs can really help to save the city money. Looking at your general fund revenues, they totaled $8.2 million for fiscal 23. That was a 5% increase from the prior year, and you were 17% better than what you had budgeted. Those increases were primarily in your business licenses and permits, as well as the fees. In addition to operating revenues, we also had $2.9 million in net other financing sources. That primarily represents your transfers from other funds.
And those other funds would be your accommodations taxes, hospitality taxes, those type of things.
Your general fund expenditures totaled $10.3 million for fiscal '23. That was a 4% increase from the prior year, primarily due to increases in public safety. And you were almost exactly on budget, about $31,000 higher than what you had budgeted when it comes to your expenditures. When we look at all of your governmental funds combined, so your general fund plus those state and local accommodations funds, your beach preservation fund, local hospitality fund, and your tourism fund, we're looking at total revenues for the city of $13.8 million compared to expenditures of $11.3 million and net other financing sources of $60,000. That $60,000 represents the fee in lieu of taxes that's paid by your water fund to the general fund to cover some of the administrative costs that the city provides. Looking now at your enterprise funds, remember on our governmental funds, we're focused on current assets and current liabilities, but your water and sewer funds are reported more like businesses, as they are intended to operate more like businesses. And so those are on a full accrual basis, which means that in addition to current assets and current liabilities, we're also reporting long-term assets and long-term obligations. So the water fund had an increase in that position of $296,000, bringing the total net position to $2.7 million. Included in that $2.7 million is $1.4 million that's invested in your capital assets, and so not in liquid form. Your water fund operating revenues increased for the current year by approximately $236,000, and that was due to an increase in your water rates. Your water expenses, your operating expenses, were pretty consistent with the prior year. On the sewer fund, we had an increase in net position of $136,000, bringing total net position to $2.3 million. And so for your sewer fund, $411,000 of that $2.3 million is invested in capital assets, and $61,000 represents amounts that are restricted by third parties. Your sewer fund operating revenues increased by approximately $99,000, and again, that was due to an increase in rates. And again, your operating expenses were consistent with the prior year. Now we'll look at some of your other long-term assets and obligations. You had total capital assets of $14.5 million as of June 30th. That was an increase of $745,000 from the prior year, as your additions exceeded depreciation expense for the year. Some of the significant additions during the current year included the pedestrian path improvements, the City Hall exterior renovation, the fire quarters renovation, and your public safety dock. For your long-term obligations, we had total long-term debt outstanding of $3.2 million. That was a decrease of $385,000 due to your scheduled principal payments. You also reported compensated absences. That's your earned but unused vacation and comp time. That totaled $312,000 as of year end. And I will note that while vacation leave is capped, compensatory time is not capped, so employees are able to accrue comp time without limit. For your total debt service payments for fiscal '24, we're looking at about $486,000, including both principal and interest. Another long-term obligation that we continue to report is your net pension liability. As you'll recall, this relates to your participation in the state retirement system. And this is not a direct liability of the city. Rather, this is the city's proportionate share of the total unfunded actuarial liability of the retirement system. And so that $6.5 million is not a balance that you're expected to ever write a check to pay off. What you are expected to write a check to pay is your employer contributions, and those are at rates mandated by the state. As we've discussed in the past, these rates have been steadily increasing over about 10 years or so. And so for fiscal '23, we had rates of 17.5% and 20.2% for the state retirement system and the police officers' retirement system. Those had increased by 1% from fiscal '22, and they have increased again for fiscal '24 to rates of 18.5% and 21.2%. Those do, of course, have a significant impact on both your cash flows and your operating budget. So it is very important that when you're making personnel decisions, that you're factoring in not only the salary, but also all of the fringe benefits on top of that, which the retirement portion would be a piece of. In addition to the audit report that's in the front of your financial statements, we also have a second report that's related to our performance of the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. And so that report describes our responsibilities when it comes to those standards. And one of those responsibilities is to report any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that are identified during the audit process. And so this year we have several findings. These are related to some year-end closeout adjustments. The prior period adjustment relates to an adjustment made to your sewer capital assets to record some additional depreciation expense that was omitted in prior years. And then we had to make some additional accrual adjustments as well as correcting the reporting of the unrealized gain on investments. Like I said, these are year-end closeout adjustments, so not necessarily indicative of any significant issues in the day-to-day reporting of your financials. In addition to the financial statement audit, if you expend greater than $750,000 in federal awards in a single fiscal year, then we would also be required to conduct a single audit. That's an additional compliance audit that's required by the federal government. Because federal expenditures were less than that $750,000 threshold for fiscal '23, that single audit was not required. However, we do anticipate that in future years, the city will need that as you spend down the state and local fiscal recovery funds and other federal funding. And then finally, we issue a management letter each year. That includes some required communications from us to council and to management. That's another area where we may from time to time have significant recommendations that we'd like to put in writing that don't rise to the level of the finding for the financial report, but nothing of that nature to report this year. And so, in summary, the city's in a very healthy financial condition, and so I encourage council to continue making good strategic decisions to help keep that healthy condition. I'd like to say thank you so much to Lee and all of the hard work that he does and his staff do to go into the audit process. And so we appreciate working with the city. I'm happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
And I will say that this won't be the end of this. I actually preparing a brief presentation to council during their strategic planning session based on these results to get you all thinking ahead in the future what we want to do, especially with idle cash when it comes to the general fund. So just more to come on
There's no idle cash.
that. Can't wait.
There's no idle cash.
I'll bring popcorn.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, it's been a pleasure working with your group. And I will say, if you have insomnia, this audit report will be put on the website for you to read in its entirety, if you so desire.
And there will be print copies in the council's boxes in coming days.
Okay. So, up next is the stakeholder meetings. That was you?
Yes, sir. How y'all doing? I'm Chris Homer with AMT, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Arctic Avenue plan we've been working on for about a year now. Just to give you an idea of what we've done so far and what our timeline was, we started in April of last year collecting data. We are looking at defining what we call placemaking for Arctic Avenue. It would be where do we put vehicles, where do we put parking, where do we put pedestrians and cyclists, giving them somewhere on your beachfront avenue where everyone has a place to go. We're increasing safety. We're looking at correcting maybe some of the deficiencies there with just having that street work better for the space that you have. We began, like I said, in April of last year by collecting traffic data. We did a walking audit with staff, stakeholders in April to kind of get an idea of what we could see, how the street was being used now, what we could do to improve that. We put together a stakeholder list which included city staff, Charleston County SCDOT, local bike advocacy groups, business owners down here were also invited. Got some feedback from them on what they'd like to see. We moved into our first formal stakeholder meeting was in June, we came to y'all with, I think, 6 alternatives. We started discussing, do you want bike lanes? Do we want 1 lane versus 2 lanes? Do we want parking, paid parking on both sides? All kinds of different options that y'all could have. Based on the feedback we got from those stakeholders, we narrowed it down to 2 alternatives, which we presented to the public for the first time in late June. Moving out of that, we collected our second set of traffic counts for what we would call peak season. That'd be your height of summer. We did that at the end of June and in July. Processed that data, used it to refine the recommendation we got from the public out of the first public meeting. Moved into further design refinements, had a second public meeting in October. Got some more feedback there, and now we are working on finalizing our deliverable to you, which would be a report, which would include a summary of all of the work we've done, the data we've collected, the analysis we've done on that, our recommendation for the preferred alternative, and some information on next steps. We can go from there. And again, we're in January now. We're looking to maybe provide that to you guys in February, late February, early March. We are planning to have one more formal stakeholder meeting. We're working on scheduling that with Aaron and Eric now. Looking maybe later this month into February. We heavily encourage all to attend. Good. So again, just to summarize the 2 public meetings, we met the first time in June. We had a good turnout, received 43 comments. Overwhelmingly favored alternative 2, which is putting the shared use path or multi-use path on the beach side. So we would take, the 2 alternatives we presented in June were basically multi-use path on the beach side or multi-use path on the north side, so the residential side. Out of those, the beach side was preferred. So again, we came out of that meeting after getting the feedback from the public and other stakeholders, and we refined alternative 2. Came back to the public again in October, presented kind of a more refined version of that. We got 18 comments there. Still had a good turnout for that one. Still overwhelmingly supportive of the project. I did want to note though that the common themes in the comments that we saw were concerns about parking, there not being enough, or concerns about it all being paid just because it was paid, and that's not going to be the case. But impacts of traffic flow. So we are presenting narrowing Arctic Avenue down to 1 lane instead of the 2 that it has, and there were some concerns about what that would do to traffic. Drainage issues. So as you'll probably all know, there are several areas along Arctic Avenue that double pond water, hold water for days. And then safety. There are, every block, I believe, all but 1 has a mid-block crossing, unsignalized, unprotected mid-block crossing. You have pedestrians that are crossing at each intersection to get to the beach accesses. You have a lot of folks that are parking on the opposite beach side, the north side, that are just walking across the street wherever they feel like it's convenient enough for them. And what we're trying to do to address that is just giving them a well-defined, well-marked space for those crossings to get the pedestrians into one area and to increase awareness of the vehicular traffic that pedestrians are crossing here in the street. So I'll give you a quick overview of the two district alternatives that we have. What we call the commercial district, which stretches from 3rd Street west to about 2nd Street east. We would look at taking the existing sidewalk and increasing it to a full multi-use path, dropping down to 1 lane, and providing a little more paved parking on our side. This does still include an option for providing golf cart parking, if that's what you would like. We can formally stripe the parking, or we can leave it more open as you have it now in some areas. It is still proposed to be a 12-foot shared use path, multi-use path on the beach side. And then there will be some intersection improvements at Center Street by providing curb extensions or bulb outs where we can get the pedestrians kind of out more visible, on those corners, provide a shorter crosswalk crossing for them. And we would also include a raised crosswalk at our mid-block crossings. So that would be kind of like a speed table or a speed hump, but it gets the pedestrians up a little higher so they're easier to see. For the residential district, that's all, which is the second residential district, it's a very similar typical section. There will be formal paved parking on the beach side. The north side is still open shoulder. You can still park there. We're not preventing parking, because I know there should still be enough space there to park as they're parking too. That was a common question that I got, especially at the second meeting, was, are we not gonna be allowed to park in the shoulder, in the grass shoulder? And that's, you still can, as long as you're following the parking rules. You can absolutely still park there. So again, this stretches from, the Second Street East all the way down to the end of the block just past 12th Street. Again, similar typical section, 12-foot multi-use path on the beach side, one lane, formal paved parking on one side, and an open shoulder on the other. Raised crosswalks also at every mid-block crosswalk. And again, short and sweet, but what we would like to do is have one more stakeholder meeting and have you guys join us, provide any feedback you can, so we can incorporate that into our final report, make any changes. From there, we will submit our final report and designs to the city, and we'll work with them to lay out a plan for design implementation. That's all I have formally. I'm available for questions. You guys have any?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, Planning Commission, who's up for that?
Okay, the planning commission met twice, so you have the reports here, I'm not gonna read them because you can read and see what happened, I hit the highlights. The planning commission, met twice, had 2 public hearings in 2023. The big, ordinances that they recommended back to you that you know that you passed are, the parking on Center Street and Marsh Island rezoning. So 150 acres of Long Island is now, the Marsh Island Residential District. The Design Review Board met, I think, 9 times in 2023. You can see about half of those applications were for signs. There's a list of the ones that were approved, and the other half are general facade and paint changes. And then the bottom 4 were that's the big ones. They were just miscellaneous. A 10-bedroom inn that was approved, a brewery, a new home on Bowen's Island, and an office addition on East Ashley. And I'm always, as always, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Community promotion.
I'm Heather O'Donnell, I'm Community Coordinator. I'm reporting for the Community Promotion Committee. They had $6,000 in funding this year. They currently have $3,350 left. Most recently, the Senior Citizens Club was approved for $1,150 at the December 14th meeting for monies needed for providing education, outreach, and meeting funding for the group. On October 26, 23, CPC approved $1,000 to be given to James Island Charter High School Band to help fund some of their high school band annual awards and award ceremony costs. And in July 19th of 23, CPC approved $500 for Coastal Family to receive funds to help families undergoing cancer treatments, spending respite time here at Folly Beach. So that's the end of the report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. So the responsible employee is gonna do the History Society.
Yes, good evening. The History Society was tasked this past February to bring the museum to life. Staff, Lee and Anderson, the mayor and myself, along with citizen committee met and got that goal lined up with our 50th picnic this past spring. as a success, we are asking ourselves, what's the next steps? So we're looking to the future to be bringing the History Society to a professional level at the community center with a space that can rotate exhibits, be multimedia, and just really shine on Folly's history that we share together. We will be back in the spring to discuss plans and next steps forward.
Thank you. Utility Advisory Board, who's doing that? Kyle's like,
They only met once last year, and it was to review the utilities budget.
budget. Parks and Rec could not meet. So the rest of them didn't meet last year. Okay. Thank y'all very much for your short and sweet presentation. So we'll move on to approval of the agenda for December the 12th. I have a motion to approve.
So approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any corrections or additions? Mr. Pope?
Mr. Brazil? Yes. Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin? Passes.
So I have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
That was the meeting. The agenda, for tonight's agenda. I skipped it.
Oh.
I need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Second.
Any additions or corrections? Mr. Pope?
Mr.
I
Farley?
missed you.
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil? Yes. Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Oh, there she is. So we'll move on to personal appearances. Ms. Travers?
Stuck in the back there. Good evening, everyone. First, I wanted to thank you so much for the fireworks and the polar plunge. They were both very successful. The fireworks looked amazing and weren't foggy for the first time in a couple of years, so that was great. And the polar plunge, I think, was our highest turnout to date, so it was a lot of fun. Taste of Folly, of course, is not this weekend but next weekend, so keep your eye out for that. And I am here for the Sea and Sand Festival, which is February 24th. We're projected for that date. Very similar format to what we've done in the past, with vendors on Center Street, closing Center Street at 7, opening the event at 10, running till 4, and then getting all of our vendors off by 5. This event won't have any culinary competitions or anything like that, so it's pretty much music on our stages, running from 10 to 4. We'll probably have about 6 bands, a very robust kids area. The only thing that we're looking to do a little slightly different, or we did it last year, but different from Taste, is we are hopeful to bring our little rodeo shark back out for the kids.
They loved it.
I know, they love it. It's a lot of fun and very safe. And then, of course, have a separate kids area adjacent to Coconut Joe's, which would be an alcohol-free zone. But yeah, very similar to what we've done in the past. So,
A motion to approve?
So moved.
Well, we've already been approved. You just let us know.
no, I think I still have to get approval. I just did the save the date.
All right, any questions?
Mr. Rich is recusing himself. Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Brazil?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Michaela Daughtery?
Hi.
Did I hit it right?
Michaela Doherty, yes.
Daughtery.
You guys have, by chance, I got pamphlets for you just to look at. Do you have them? I can also see those.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. So, hi, I'm Michaela Doherty, and I'm coming today to ask for a permit for a new beach camp here in Charleston over the summer. So a little bit of background about me and about the camp. I'm originally from San Diego, and I ran this camp and I started off as an aide for it, like a volunteer opportunity when I was 13 back in Encinitas, California. And then I worked for it all up until a few years ago when I moved to Charleston, and I was an undergraduate student, played beach volleyball, D1 at College of Charleston, was part of the surf club there, and now I'm getting my master's at USC. So the camp essentially aims for ages 6 to 9. We teach kids about ocean safety, beach safety, sustainability, boat safety. And we do this all through a variety of beach games and ocean games. And sustainability, where it comes with teaching them about the sand dunes and how to protect them, and teaching them about the sea turtle exhibits and what that is about and how to protect those, and teaching them about SPF and why it is important when your parents tell you to put on sunscreen to go to the beach. And a big thing we teach kids is how to spot out potential hazards in the water or on the beach, how to recognize beach signage and rip currents. So one of the main reasons I wanted to do this camp here in Charleston is after babysitting down here for many years, I noticed during the summers their camps like sell out really quick, so there is a need for camps. And then also there's a need for education of these things. So in the Carolinas, rip currents are the #1 cause of incremental weather deaths. It's over 180 deaths from rip currents from 2000 to 2023. Not floodings, not hurricanes, not tornadoes. Rip currents are the #1. So it's really important that kids understand how to enter and exit the ocean. And growing up on boats and in the ocean, like most of the kids here, it is important that we educate them. So our camp is ranging. We want to do about 35 to 55 kids from 9 to 12, June 17th to August 9th. And we would have a 5-to-1 kid to instructor ratio. And I talked with Wes and the Special Events Committee, and they suggested a few different locations on the beach for the camp. One would be 7th to 10th West Ashley Avenue. The other would be down near where Isla does their beach camp, on 2nd West near the restrooms. And all of our instructors would be CPR, first aid certified, familiar with ocean, familiar lifeguards, or surfers. So yeah, do you guys have any questions for me?
Do I need a motion for approval? Nobody's gonna make a motion to approve? Then we're gonna turn you down.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay, thank you.
Thank you. Citizen comments about the agenda? Okay. We're gonna move into ordinance 21-23. It's the second reading. Ordinance amending the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, section 13102, city officers and employees, interference, resisting arrest by codifying procedures related to First Amendment audits in public facilities. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Mr. Pope.
Under Houghton,
Yes.
Mr. Farley,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms,
Yes.
Mr. Brazell,
Yes.
Mr. Rich,
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Excuse me, yes.
passes.
Excuse me.
Second reading.
Second reading ordinance 22-23, ordinance amending the Folly Beach Code of Ordinances, section 115, vehicle immobilization service by establishing conditions for the immobilization of vehicles on public property. Do you have a motion to approve? So moved. Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Pope. Well, whenever you get ready, don't hurry.
Mr. Brazell,
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin,
Yes.
passes second.
Resolution 1-24, that sounds funny. A resolution by the Folly Beach City Council establishing a minimum bid amount for surf and paddleboard franchises.
Motion to approve.
Have a second?
Second.
Any discussion,
Yes.
questions?
I think we had some discussion about it last time to remove paddleboard and make it surf franchises. Was that not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're
Under
supposed to do that.
discussion?
Yes,
When
sir.
I made the motion last month to do, I just said surf camps. I didn't say surf and paddleboard.
But it's in,
It's in there, but it's not, we're still
exempted
approving.
it.
Okay.
Are we removing it from the whole thing or just the bid amount?
no, just remove paddleboard. So
From
it
the-
just applies
from
to
the-
surf camps.
for the
as we
minimum bid
discussed.
amount.
Yeah, I didn't say paddle boards, I only said surf
Yeah.
camps when I made the motion. I got you.
So you make a motion to take paddle boards out of this resolution?
Yeah, out of the title and out of the now therefore.
Yeah, okay, second, any discussion beyond that? Okay. On the amendment,
On the amendment, Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
yes.
Passes.
Now, back to resolution 124 as amended, whenever you get ready.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes. As amended.
Resolution 2-24 is a resolution by Folly Beach City Council awarding franchise agreements for surf and paddleboard, I guess this one stays in here, camps for a 5-year period beginning in January 2024.
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? Whenever you're ready.
All right, Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yes.
Passes.
Resolution 3-24, resolution awarding $1,150 to the Folly Beach Senior Citizens Club to assist with senior club programming throughout the year, and this is recommended by the Community Promotions Committee. Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
May I make an amendment?
You can.
I'd like
Make
to-
a motion for amendment.
I'd like to make a motion for an amendment. I'd like to raise that to $2,000. The reason for that is when I looked at the amount of seniors that they'll be serving, and they're very frugal, and I would like to see that they have more programming money.
Okay, let's make this perfectly clear. You can't amend the community promotions money.
Okay, so what?
So where are you gonna get the money from?
So, let me ask you this. So they recommended to us that amount. So at this point, I don't have.
You'd have to send it back to them.
We can send it back and tell them to reevaluate, look it up. If we do that, I would like to add that they look at the senior club, looks at the transportation.
I
Because that's
agree.
the other email that we've gotten.
Yes.
Is about seniors need transportation, and that's the perfect club to do it, not the city.
I agree.
So I'll second your motion if we can do that. So send it back to, do we shoot it down or postpone?
Can we just add it to it next
No,
time?
you can't.
You can't?
You gotta send it back to them to consider their funds, and if they want to award those funds for that, they might come back and say, we wanna stick with $1,150, we're not changing.
So a motion to remand back to this.
That's the motion that's on the floor right now, to remand it back to
That's
the,
my motion.
community promotions. And I had a second for that.
Yeah, I got it.
All right, so on the motion to remand to the CPC, Mr. Grooms?
Yes.
Mr. Bazell?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Dr. Houghton?
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin?
Yeah.
Passes.
So that's going back. Resolution 4-24, resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the administration to enter into a contract with Evergreen Solutions in the amount of $32,500 for the completion of a compensation study. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Any questions or discussion?
I've got just one question. And it's for the department heads that did the survey and the numbers. Is it worth the extra $10,000 for that little bit of a score differential? And I know the big thing was they've worked with neighboring communities. Y'all, I mean, I guess Aaron can probably answer this for everybody.
Aaron
You feel, I mean,
can answer.
you feel pretty good that that's because it's over budget, it's over what we budgeted. I know we'll have other areas, line items that don't spend their money to cover it. I'm worried about that, but it is over what we initially budgeted. We have bids that are under what we budgeted, and their scores were, the cheapest one, wasn't that far off with y'all's scores from this one. So this one, but because this one has worked with all the neighboring municipalities, is the reason why I'm like, okay, I'll consider it, but is it worth all that extra?
We believe so. We don't, I mean, there was a 16-point score differential, so we didn't think scores were that, we viewed Evergreen as the overwhelming favorite. And the main reason is not just that they work with a couple, but they basically work with every coastal county and well, not a majority. I'll just read, I don't want to read the list. They work with every city, every coastal county and a lot of cities in the coastal counties. So in terms of our competition in the coastal region of South Carolina, I think they have the most in-depth knowledge of what our competitors are doing. And if our goal is really recruitment and retention, we think they're uniquely placed to give us insight into exactly what's happening in those other agencies.
Okay. And when's the last time we did a compensation study?
2019.
2019. So is this gonna be like an every 5-year thing where we do a compensation study?
We've been doing it every 5 years.
Okay.
Practice.
I'm just, that seems to be our standard, that's what we're sticking to.
Yes, sir.
Is it fair to ask for a longer timeline? Because 5 years, to me, and given I'm not, I'm in government, but I'm not. 5 years is kind of short for doing a compensation study of this, wouldn't it? Wouldn't we get like a 10-year number? Like this is what you can stagger, like a 10-year term instead of 5, or?
I wouldn't go that far because the amount of money that's put out there to draw employees changes rapidly with budgets every year.
Gotcha.
And for government entities, it's not like private business that's
Right.
steady,
And it changes,
Every
I guess,
new
too, like
government-
police and all that's the hot thing right now, but next year might be city administrators. You
That's
never
right.
know what's in demand.
Yeah,
Okay,
so-
I got you.
So 5 years has been a pretty good.
That's fine. As long as that was it. I'm not, opposed to it. I just want to make sure we're paying for
That's,
buck.
that's the reason. All right, any other questions? Mr. President.
Mr. Bazell,
Yeah.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin.
No. I just kidding.
Passes.
I mean, it's done before it gets to me, yes, but. Resolution 5-24, resolution by Folly Beach City Council authorizing the payment of $1,200 from council discretionary reserve account to the Folly Beach Exchange Club for sponsorship of the 2024 Folly Beach Exchange Club, Folly Association of Business Golf Tournament. Do I have a motion to approve?
So
So-
moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Y'all spending your money?
I just would comment that I think it's great that we look at our discretionary reserve account for funds for charity or to support nonprofits. I think that's a great use of funds.
All right.
Two.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mr. Bazell.
Yeah.
Mayor Goodwin.
Yes.
Passes.
And I'm glad you put charities in there because I'll come to y'all, try to spend some of y'all's money for a charity.
You got mayor discretionary now.
I spend mine there too.
Yeah.
All the time. You can ask Lee. I spend mine there. Resolution 6-24, resolution by Folly Beach City Council awarding a contract for the public safety building cladding renovation
Oh, the new one.
to Chastain Construction in the amount of $157,848.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
I mean, no, it ain't a brand new building. I thought I heard somebody say that.
This will be the last money we ever have to spend on this building. Right?
Well,
But it is under budget.
That's not the best thing. It is under budget.
it was under bill, oh, excuse me.
Yeah, well.
All right, Mr. Oh,
Dr. Houghton.
Yes.
Mr. Grooms.
Yes.
Mr. Bazell.
Yeah.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
Mr. Farley.
Yes.
Mayor Goodwin.
yes.
Passes.
And the reason I said it's not a new building, we was that discussion kind of come up this afternoon, it was like, oh, yeah, well, it was built in 2010. It got old real quick. Mr. Grooms, would you like to start off?
I sure would. We missed yesterday, which was January 9th, which was the official or National Police Appreciation Day. So at this moment, I'd like to just tell Chief Gilreath what a great job not only he's done, but his staff has done, the STR, Department of Enforcement, and the beach and, I'll even say the parking patrol. I'll include them as well. But just, we do appreciate all the things you do and keeping us safe and keeping our quality of life so good. And either writing too many tickets or not writing enough, that's your prerogative. But I want to tell you thank you.
Thanks, Chief. That's all.
Oh, sorry. An issue that's come up that I think we're all grappling with either as individuals or as a community, it's the coastal rates for insurance. And that has been a consistent theme in the last couple of months. So I just want to say that we understand that issue, and I'm starting to learn at all levels, the state and local, maybe some of our options. Second thing, I encourage anyone that's interested in running for the vacant seat, please think about it. We're a great group to work with, and if Eddie was here, I would have said something, but I encourage everyone to be engaged in service.
Just good to have all the New Year's Eve stuff went so smoothly. I know that a lot of work went behind that, and I really appreciate it. It's a great way to start the new year.
Since you brought up insurance, it's a good thing we passed all those new requirements years back to get everybody's CRS certification lowered. Get that number lowered to help everybody have lower insurance, because it is going through the roof. Want to wish everybody a Happy New Year. Thanks for hanging in there. Have a good night. Keep us in.
Have a motion to adjourn? So moved.